Habla, así durante solo tu Días y Cambia tu vida, or Victor Kuppers, YouTube Burr, transcripts Burr. Have you noticed that the person that criticizes you the most, that limits you the most, what stops you the most, is it yourself? I remember years ago being trapped in a work that did not fulfill me, listening phrases like, I can't, I'm not enough, this is too difficult. And then one day I realized something that changed everything, right? They were not the external circumstances that kept stagnant. It was the way I was talking to myself. Music, yes, for just 2 days you will change those inner words. You could literally transform your energy, your decisions, and the results you get in your life. Today I'm going to show you how to do it, and believe me, it's not theory. It's something that anyone can apply from this moment. Have you ever stopped to think about everything you say to yourself same throughout the day? Each thought, every phrase you repeat in your head has enormous power, although most people don't. Even he realizes. I remember perfectly a stage of my life in which I felt stuck with the feeling of not was advancing, that every effort he made, it ended up being in vain. The curious thing is, it wasn't that my job was impossible, even that the opportunities were scarce. The problem was in how I spoke to myself every morning. He told me things like, you're not enough, this will never work, you don't have the necessary skills. And those words, although silent, were like a constant brake that limited every action that he took. What I learned with time and with practice is that your internal dialogue defines life that you are creating. Your mind's subconscious does not distinguish between what it is real and what you vividly imagine. If every day you tell yourself that something is impossible, that you are not capable, that luck is never on your side, your brain begins to filter reality to find evidence that confirms those beliefs. Hey, suddenly everything you see and experience reinforces those limitations. But here comes the good news. It works exactly the other way around. If you change the way you talk to yourself, if you start repeating phrases that you empower, your mind begins to search solutions, opportunities, and paths that you hadn't even considered before. Let me tell you a concrete example. During a period of my life, I was leading a project that seemed overwhelming. The first time I faced a challenge, my internal dialogue, I was full of doubts. I won't be able to do this. It's too big for me. Music, and it's not that the project was impossible, it was just sabotaging me. Yourself before even starting. Then one day I decided to make a change conscious. Every time my mind doubted, I kept telling myself, I have the ability to solve this. Every step I take closer to success. You can't imagine what different it felt. Not only my confidence grew, but my energy changed. The way he approached problems became more creative and my results began to improve quickly. And it's not about magic or to ignore the challenges. It is about take control over the first conversation that defines everything. Continue. Music, the one you have with you, same. Every thought you choose feeding becomes a force that shapes your behavior, your decisions, and in the end, your reality. When you learn to recognize limiting patterns and consciously replace them with thoughts that empower you, you are literally reprogramming your brain so that it works in your favor. Think about it like this. Your internal dialogue is the architect invisible of your life. Every word that you say builds a version of yourself, the same thing that manifests itself in your actions and results. And the great news is that you have absolute control over those words. Change your dialogue and you will change your world. There's a time in life when you realize something very simple and at the same time deeply transformer. You are not your thoughts, but you are who observes them. That ability to observe, take distance and give yourself realize what you think and feel is what I call consciousness. I remember a period in my professional life in which I felt constantly stressed and overwhelmed. Every day seemed like a race endless and my thoughts went from one problem to another without pause. He told me, no, I'm going to achieve all this, it's too much for me. And by repeating it, I immersed myself more and more in that feeling of helplessness, right? Until one day something changed. I just stopped and I asked, what am I saying and why? I'm letting myself be dragged by these words? In that moment, I understood that I had a power that until then had not existed, recognized the ability to be aware of my own thoughts. Consciousness is incredibly powerful because it allows you to choose. While not be aware, your thoughts' limitations function as a pilot, automatic, determining your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately your life. But when you look at those thoughts, when you identify them and you question them, you can decide if follow or replace them. For example, if you notice that you are thinking, I can't face this situation, the awareness, it gives you a chance to say, wait, wait a minute, is this hunt really true? Or is it just a pattern? What can I change? That pause, that space for reflection is where power is born. Hey, I've practiced this many times. Hey, one of the clearest experiences I remember were when he led a team during a project with extremely deadlines tight. Initially, I felt anxious and worried, thinking that any mistake would be catastrophic. But instead of letting those thoughts consume me, I took a moment to observe them. I recognized the anxiety. I accepted and decided to redirect my energy towards concrete solutions. The difference was abysmal. Not only my stress decreased, but my team also felt calmer and more focused. Because I was transmitting clarity and security instead of fear. The awareness also allows you to notice repetitive patterns in your dialogue internal that they previously passed unnoticed. Many of us, we have thoughts that repeat constantly, and we don't realize how they affect us until we observe. For example, you can discover that without realizing it, every time when a challenge arises, you tell yourself things like, this always happens to me or not, I'm lucky. Identify these patterns is the first step to break them. Once you see them clearly, you can replace them with thoughts that empower and bring you closer to the person. What do you want to be? Being aware is not it means living in judgment or guilt about yourself. It means having the ability to notice what happens inside you and decide with intention where to go. You want to direct your energy. It's like being the driver of your own life instead to let the thoughts automatics take you aimlessly. The more you practice awareness, the faster you realize that you have the power to change your internal experience. And with it, the way you interact with the world. It all starts with a simple act. Observe your thoughts before react. Once you do it, the change is inevitable. Consciousness is the key that opens the door to the personal freedom. Every time we face a challenge or situation that scares us, our thoughts automatics tend to betray us. Those limiting thoughts appear without warning, and they tell us things like, no, I can't do it, this is too hard, or I'm not ready for this. I clearly remember a moment of my professional life in which I had to give a conference before a large audience bigger than it was accustomed. Before going up to stage, my mind began to fill of doubts. And if I'm wrong, and if I don't interested in what I say in the past, those words would have paralyzed, had made us hesitate and lose trust. But that day I decided to try something different. At the moment when the limit thought arose, which I consciously replaced it with one that empowered, I told myself, I'm ready. I have valuable ideas to share, and this audience needs to listen to me. The transformation was immediate. I felt security, clarity, and enthusiasm. No, I eliminated the fear. I simply redirected towards constructive energy. This is the power of replacement instant thoughts. It is not about to ignore reality or to pretend that everything is fine. It's about recognizing that arises in your mind and deciding that same moment give it a twist that works for you instead of limiting yourself. Every thought that you allow to grow becomes action and eventually results. Yes, you constantly feed doubt and fear. Those thoughts will be reflected in your decisions and in the way you introduce yourself to the world. On the contrary, if you train your mind to replace immediately those thoughts with powerful and constructive affirmations, you start acting in alignment with your goals. I have worked with many people who are stuck in cycles of self-criticism and doubt. A woman who I met, Sarah, she spent her days saying to herself, I will never be able to change career. I don't have the skills necessary. Every time a challenge arose, his mind reinforced the belief of disability. I taught him to practice instant replacement. Every time I discovered thinking something limiting, I had to transform it into something positive and empowering, as I have the skills necessary to learn and grow, and each step brings me closer to my goal. Within weeks, Sarah began to act with more confidence, to apply for opportunities that I didn't even consider before, and finally got a job that exceeded his expectations. The change came from luck or circumstance external, but from constant practice to replace limiting thoughts with instant. The secret is in the speed and repetition. The more quickly you replace a thought limiting, the more effective the transformation. It's like training a muscle, right? It's hard at first, but with practice it becomes automatic. Another technique that I recommend is to combine replacement with emotions. It is not enough to change the words. You have to feel the new belief in your body. This will tell your subconscious mind that new truth is real and begins to align with her. Every time you dominate this habit, you will notice useful changes when beginning. Your posture becomes more firm, your voice clearer, your energy more focused. But quickly those changes, internal ones, begin to manifest themselves in visible results. better decisions, more opportunities, more relationships healthy, and achievements that once seemed unattainable. The instant replacement of limiting thoughts is the most powerful tool you have to take control of, your mind, and therefore music your life. When we talk to we ourselves, many times we do it from a place of desire. I hope to be more confident. I wish I could achieve this. I would like to be more successful. And the curious thing is that while we stay in that ground of desire, our mind subconscious does not receive an instruction clear, because we are talking about something that we are not yet. It's like trying to give an order to a system that needs certainties. I've seen this over and over again in my own life. When I first started to give lectures, he used to tell me, hopefully I can connect with the audience. I hope you like what I say. That uncertainty and that language of desire created nervousness, insecurity, and many times they made me trip over my own words. Everything changed the day I decided to speak from my identity and not from my desires. I said to myself, I am a speaker capable of inspiring and connect with any audience. My ideas have value and my message has impact. At first it felt strange, almost like an exercise in arrogance, but I quickly noticed something extraordinary. My posture changed, my voice gained firmness, and the energy with which I moved on stage I transmitted security. I wasn't pretending. I was acting from the version of myself that already existed potentially, and my subconscious began to align with that identity. This is what I want you to understand when you speak from whom you are, not from what you want. Every word you say to yourself turns it into an action plan. The identity defines your behaviors automatically. A person who says to herself, I am a person organized and disciplined, begins to organize your day, make decisions that reinforce that identity, and build habits consistent with your statement. On the contrary, saying, I hope to be more organized, keeps the brain in a state of expectation and doubt, and rarely translates into concrete action. I remember to a client who worked in sales, and he constantly said to himself, I wish I could sell more. Hopefully customers respond better. The results were inconsistent, and he was frustrated. We change your internal dialogue. I am a valuable seller who understands the needs of my clients and offers solutions that they improve their lives. The transformation was quickly. He began to better prepare his presentations. I listened more carefully. I anticipated the needs of their clients, and their sales skyrocketed. Did not change the market nor his overnight skills the morning, but the identity from that he spoke to himself. Speak from identity also creates resilience, right? When a challenge arises, instead to doubt yourself, you act like the person you know you are. Imagine face a financial problem, a difficulty in your job, or a conflict in your relationships. If your internal dialogue is, I am able to solve problems and find creative solutions, automatically you start looking for alternatives, to take decisions clearly and to maintain calm. If instead you say to yourself, I hope be able to resolve this, your mind is filled of anxiety and hesitation. The key is in being clear and specific about the identity that you want to inhabit every day. It is not about fantasy or self-deception. It's about talking to you, like the person who already has the resources, the experience, and the ability to live life you want. Every time you do it, you will be sending precise instructions to your subconscious, and it will take care of it to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with that identity. Speak from who you are today, not from what you want to be tomorrow, and you will see how your life begins to reflect that truth immediately. When we think of success, many people focus on what they lack. Experience, money, education, or connections, and there is the biggest mistake we make. We underestimate what we already have. The reality is that each of us possesses skills, talents, and resources that if we recognize them and use them consciously, they can open doors that they seemed impossible to get through. I went through this myself. My first years lecturing and teaching, I felt insecure about whether I could inspire to the people, if my words had weight, if my experience was enough. But one day I stopped and started making an honest inventory of what could offer. Practical knowledge of the life, personal experience, overcoming obstacles, ability to communicate ideas complex in a simple way. That clarity changed everything. Recognize your skills are not about showing off or boast. It's about being aware of your internal resources. When you start to talk to yourself from the capacity that you already possess, your mind stops focus on limitations and start to focus on solutions. For example, I remember a friend who was looking a new job and constantly said, I don't have enough experience in this sector. Every time I thought thus, his anxiety grew and he made no progress. We worked together to change our internal dialogue. Instead of focusing in what he lacked, he began to say to himself, I have the ability to learn quickly. My previous experience gives me perspectives unique and I can apply my skills in any environment. The change was immediate. His confidence grew, his interviews improved, and in a few weeks got a position that seemed out of place its reach. The power of recognizing your skills is also reflected in how you face daily challenges. Each problem that arises is an opportunity to apply what you know how to do. In my case, when facing the uncertainty of filling an auditorium first time, instead of telling me this is too big for me, I remembered all the times I had prepared. Workshops smaller. The way I could connect with people and how I could adapt my knowledge to any public. That trust based on capacity that already existed allowed me not only fill the place, but also receive positive feedback that reinforced my security and my growth. Many people believe that they have to wait until they are better to use their abilities, when in reality conscious action with what they already have is what makes those skills grow. Every experience what you apply, every challenge you face using what you know how to do, strengthen your confidence and expand your capacity. It is a virtuous cycle. You recognize your abilities, you act with them, you get results, and that further reinforces your perception of what you are capable of. When you talk to yourself recognizing your capacity, you are training your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems, in resources instead of deficiencies. It is not about ignoring what lack, but to build on what already you have, using every talent, experience, and ability you have to create tangible results in your life. Recognize your abilities, trust what that you already know how to do, and you will see how your world begins to expand from within outside. Here I want to pause to remind you of something important. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to this channel. This is a space designed for those who have already decided to leave behind mediocrity and transform your life from inside. And I want to make you ask for you to reflect and tell me, leave in the comments what dialogue internally you are repeating today that you could change over the next 2 days to start transforming your life. Your honest answer may be the point starting from your true change. When we think about our future, many times we feel trapped in the daily routine, in the tasks immediate, in day-to-day problems and without realizing it our present, it becomes an automatic reflex of what we have always done, offline with what we really want to achieve. Learn to connect our present with our desired future is, in my experience, one of the most powerful things we can give towards life that we dream. Hey, I remember my first years working at conferences and courses. Every day was full of small problems, mail, planning, and doubts. I could easily get lost in the pressure of the immediate thing, but I decided to do something different. Every morning I asked myself, what can I do today to get me closer to the person I want to be in 5 years? That simple question transformed my days. Connect the present with the future desired means living with purpose. It's not about living in a world imaginary or ignoring reality. Try to use your vision of the future as compass to guide your decisions daily. For example, if your future desired is to be a recognized professional in your field, every task you perform today, every interaction you have, every habit you develop must align with that future version of yourself. Music. When I started applying this, every workshop he taught, every book I read, every person I connected with, I saw it as a strategic step towards that future I wanted to build. And little by little, my present began to reflect that future in a tangible way. There is something amazing what happens when you connect your present with your destiny. Your mind starts prioritizing what really matters and filter out what doesn't contribute to your goals. I remember a moment in my career in which I was overwhelmed with tasks that had no real impact on my goals. By applying this perspective, I learned to say no to what was not there, aligned with my future, and yes to what I was really getting closer to life wanted. That change of focus not only gave clarity, but also an energy renewed, because each action had a larger purpose. Another aspect fundamental to this connection is the consistency. It is not enough to visualize your future once and hope that things happen. It is about maintaining a daily consistency between what you do today and what you want to achieve tomorrow. Each small act, every conscious decision turns into a brick. Build your destiny. I have seen this once and again with people I have accompanied. Those who integrate habits aligned with your vision of the future are advancing much faster than who hope that luck or external motivation pushes them. When you talk to yourself from perspective of your desired future, your present begins to change automatically. You become more proactive, more focused and braver to make decisions that previously seemed risky. Your future stops being a distant concept and becomes a reality that is built day after day. Connect your present with your future desired, and each step you take will have sense. Every effort will be an advance, and every day will be a conscious investment in the life you really want.